Hi everyone, my name is Ellie. I teach sewing and crafts at the library, and today I'm going to show you how to sew a really simple tote bag. So all you're going to need for this project is a sewing machine and thread, some fabric scissors, sewing pins, and then 4 pieces of 13.5 by 14 inch fabric, 2 in your outer color, and then 2 in your lining, and then 2 pieces of 4 inch by 22 inch fabric for your straps. So we're going to start by making our straps. So I'm here at my ironing board and I'm going to fold one of my pieces of 4 inch by 22 inch fabric in half long ways. And I'm just going to iron it. Okay, and now I'm going to open this fabric up again and I'm going to fold each side into the middle like this. And again, give it a press. So now when I fold it in half again, all of our raw edges are hidden. So I'll go ahead and put a couple pins in this just to hold it in place, and then I'm going to take it over to the sewing machine. So I'm at my sewing machine and we're just going to do a straight stitch down both of these longer edges. We don't have to worry about sewing the shorter edge or even doing any back stitching because this part is actually going to end up sandwiched in between the outer fabric and the lining fabric. So I want to sew really close to the edge, maybe like 1/8 of an inch away. So here are my stitches, and then I'm just going to repeat that same line of stitches on this other side, and then I'll repeat all those steps for our second strap. The next step is to start building our bag. So I've taken my 2 pieces of outer fabric and pinned them together on 3 sides with the right sides together. And I left one of the 13.5 inch sides open, and that's going to be the top of our bag. And then I did the same thing with my lining fabric. So now I'm just going to take these to my sewing machine, sew around on those 3 sides with about a 1/4 inch seam allowance. If it's easier for you to do a 1/2 inch seam allowance, that's fine too. Next I'm going to show you how to box the bottom corners of the bag so that our tote bag will have a flat bottom. If you want to simplify this project even further, you can skip this step. However, I encourage you to give it a try because it's a lot easier than it sounds. So this is the outer fabric of my bag, and I've got this side sewn and these 2 as well, so this is the bottom of my bag. And so I'm going to start with this corner, and I'm just going to pinch up the fabric on either side of the corner and then just kind of pull it out. And then if we turn the fabric so that the bottom seam is facing us, you can see we've got this kind of triangle shape. And so now I'm going to take my ruler and measure 1.5 inches down from the tip of this corner. So we're actually going to ignore this little piece of fabric that's kind of hanging off the side. It's going to be kind of hard to see on camera, but we're going to start from where the stitches are because this is the true corner of our bag. This is just extra fabric. So find where your stitches are. It should be at the top of your triangle and measure from there down 1.5 inches. And I'm just going to make a little mark. See that? And then I'm going to use this mark as my guide, and I'm going to draw a straight line right across here. Okay, so now I'm going to take this to my sewing machine, and I'm going to sew right along this line. And then I'm going to continue this for the other corners of my outer bag and the lining. I have all my corners sewn now, so you can see how this is already kind of looking flat here at the bottom. And another thing you can do is just cut off this extra fabric here, because we don't really need it anymore. It's just going to bulk up the bottom of the bag. So I'm going to cut this off pretty close to the stitches that I made, but not too close. I don't want to accidentally snip them as well. So I'm just going to repeat this for all of my corners. Now we need to start putting our bag together. So first I'm going to take my lining and turn it right sides out. So I know it's kind of hard to tell with this fabric, but basically we want all the seams to be on the inside. Okay, and now I'm going to take my outer fabric and leave it as it is with the wrong side facing out. And I'm going to take the lining and put it inside of the outer fabric. You just want to make sure that your corners match up at the bottom. And you can make sure that the seams on the side match up as well. That way you know everything is lined up. Okay. So now we need to add our straps. So I'm going to take one of my straps, I'm going to make it into a U like this, and then slide this in between the outer and the lining fabric. Make sure it's not twisted. Okay, so I've got the edges of my strap here, and then I'm just going to take my ruler and make sure that the straps are 2 inches from the side of the bag. So let's be about there. It's about 2.5. I'm okay with that as long as we stay consistent. So then I'm going to pin this fabric together, the lining, the strap, and the outer fabric, just to hold it in place. And I'm going to repeat that for this strap, and then flip the bag over and insert the strap and then pin it the same way. Okay, just to double check we've got everything correct. You should still be able to open the bag. Make sure you haven't pinned the 2 lining pieces together. So the bag is open. We've got both sets of straps pinned at about the same place. So now we can take this to the sewing machine and we're going to sew all the way around. And you can do about a 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch seam allowance, it's up to you. But just make sure that we leave a space of about 2 to 3 inches open so that we can turn it so that the right sides are facing out. So I'm going to leave that gap along the side here. And one trick I like to use, I'm just going to do 2 pins where I want to start sewing. Actually, they'd go on this side. And then about 2 or 3 inches away, I'm going to put 2 more pins to remind me to stop. Just so I don't get carried away. Okay, so I'm going to sew this together and then I'll show you the next step. I just finished sewing around the top edge of my bag. So now it's time to turn it right sides out. So find the little gap that you left, and then I'm going to start by pulling out the lining fabric. And then slowly getting the outer fabric as well. Oh, there's a strap. It's important to backstitch when you start and end the stitches we just made around the top. That way, as you're turning your work, we don't lose any of the stitches that we just made. So I'm just going to make sure the corners at the bottom are pulled out. See, there's one of our flat corners. Alright, so now we have our lining kind of on the outside of the outer part of the bag. So the last step is just to push it inside. Alright, and we are so close to finishing this project. The last step is just to top stitch around the top edge of the bag. We want to find our opening and make sure that these raw edges are folded in, and it definitely helps to give this a good press before you start sewing. Also to make sure that the lining fabric rolls to the inside, so we've got a nice clean edge at the top. Alright, so I'm going to iron this and then top stitch all the way around this top edge. So I'm at my sewing machine to top stitch the bag. These pins are where the gap was. So I'm starting just a little bit before that. And again, I'm trying to stitch really close to the edge without going over. as I go, I just want to make sure that I don't see any of this lining fabric peeking through. Just going to roll that under a little bit. That'll just ensure that we have a nice clean edge to the bag. Alright, so I've met up with the stitches where I started. Just going to take this out of my machine. And I can go back and clean up these threads. So here is our finished product, a very simple but still useful, beginner-friendly tote bag. This project is also very easy to adjust the size, so if you want it bigger or smaller, or if you need to change the size of the straps, the same method will work for all sorts of sizes. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye!